Natasha and Her Illegitimate Child in a Muslim Society. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This is an intriguing epic story which resonates with love, resilience, courage, and sacrifice. Before we dive into the tapestry of the story, I would like to remind the reader that this novel has been narrated in 2 books. Book 2. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer, who may quote brief paragraphs for a review to be printed in a public newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. This novel is a work of fiction, but the entire story is based on the real life of a Muslim family. All names, characters, places, and events are either the product of the author's imagination or used literary. Therefore, any resemblance to actual people, living or dead, events or locales is merely coincidental. Chapter 33. The Life Threat. Dr. Natasha was 4 months pregnant when she left her husband and came to stay with her brother Wahid, his Ethiopian wife, Almaz, and her 2 children, Nadia and Sammy. During her long time of absence, she missed her children and always wished to live with them again. When she traveled to Sudan and Saudi Arabia, she knew that her children were in safe hands living with her brother and their stepmother. During her study at McGill University in Montreal, she also lived without her children. Moreover, she spent 1 year away from them when she went to Sudan to do her fieldwork for writing her PhD dissertation. Before she left for the Middle East, she lived temporarily with her children in her brother's house. After her return from the Third World, she could not live with her brother because she had a new husband. Dr. Natasha hid from her husband her relationship with her children. She informed him that the children were her brother's kids. She found it difficult to explain to him that she got those 2 children from her own brother and her biological father. Even her brother Wahid supported her decision of concealing her relationship with her children. Dr. Natasha used to bring her children every weekend to stay with her and her husband in their apartment. Her husband did not object to their coming because he thought they are close relatives. By then, Dr. Natasha's daughter and son have grown up into a lovely young lady and handsome young man. They are studying in a private Christian school. Wahid and his sister want to instill in their children the rich and valuable Christian heritage. They do not want them to be exposed to secular education that devoid of Christian religious values. They know in a public school, children have been denied learning the good Christian heritage and values, and instead, they are taught some Eastern religious practices such as yoga and the Islamic pagan rituals of prayer. They also teach them some atheistic theories such as evolution and Big Bang. Many of them, when they grow up, they become atheists. Due to that early atheistic indoctrination and brainwashing, many Westerners today do not believe in a deity and the creation of man and the universe by the God of the Bible. The Western teachers sometimes took children to Muslim mosques and Hindu temples without the knowledge of their parents. Moreover, the public schools stopped teaching the children the Lord's Prayer because some children from other Eastern faiths must not feel offended. Therefore, public schools do not teach any Western ethics, which are based on the Judeo-Christian rich heritage. For that reason, Dr. Natasha and Wahid decided to send their children to a private Christian school and pay all their fees and other expenses. Many parents prefer to send their children to public schools because they do not need to pay any fees for everything that is covered by the government. The private Christian school where their children attend is in a far distance from where Wahid and his wife are living. Every day, Wahid takes his children to their school before he goes to his work and picks them up from school after his work is over. His Ethiopian wife is working at a daycare place. She works from morning to evening. She is remarkably busy and works 12 hours a day. She works 4 days a week. When Dr. Natasha left her husband and came to stay with her brother and his wife, she decided to drop her children at their school while she is on her way to the university and Wahid can bring them after his work. Therefore, the new arrangement has reduced the responsibility of Wahid. Dr. Natasha also began to help with the housework. After 1 month from the day Professor Natasha left her husband and apartment and moved into her brother's house, she received a letter through her university address. It is an anonymous letter and carried a serious life threat. Its writer has threatened her that the consequences would be dire if she does not cancel all her future plans of defaming Islam and Muslims. It has also stipulated and emphasized that she should not send the stoning video to Fox News in the States. If she does not listen, she is told she would regret her actions all the rest of her life. Dr. Natasha immediately contacted the police authority and showed them the letter. The letter is not handwritten but typed on a computer. There is no name or signature included in it. After carefully examining the contents of the letter, the police concluded that it is not carrying a serious life threat to Dr. Natasha or any one of her immediate relatives. The letter has mentioned that if Professor Natasha does not listen, she would regret her actions all the rest of her life, and that indicated its writer is not planning to kill her. Dr. Natasha knew that her husband is poor in English, and therefore he is not the one who wrote such a letter with high knowledge of the English language. For that reason, she told the police what had happened between her and her husband and why she left him. The police refused to jump to the conclusion that the letter had been written by her husband. If he is the one who has written it, then why did he wait for 1 month to send the letter if he is truly worried about the honor of his family, and for that reason, he wanted to prevent her from sending the stoning video of his late wife to the media? He should have written it immediately after she had left him. It is true that Dr. Natasha did not send the video to the media after she left her husband because her brother advised her to delay the video until their trial is over. Based on those conclusions, the police guessed that the letter most probably had been written and sent by an angry Muslim student or a Muslim group to scare Dr. Natasha and prevent her from publishing any further materials against Islam. Notwithstanding, the letter directed the police towards Dr. Natasha's husband. The police officers want to know why her husband did not take any action to prevent her from sending the video to the media and jeopardizing the honor of his family, or contacted her after she left him, and what he is doing all this time, and where he is living. After approaching them with that anonymous letter, the police of Toronto contacted the rental company where Dr. Natasha used to live with her husband. The rental office informed the police that Mr. Hassan Yasser vacated their apartment 3 weeks ago and moved somewhere else. He did not give any forwarding address. The police soon found out that Dr. Hassan moved to an apartment in a building where most of the tenants are Sudanese immigrants. At present, he is sharing a 2-bedrooms apartment with 4 Sudanese immigrants. He is jobless and spends most of his time roaming around with those boys. The Canadian police did not try to find out how Dr. Hassan is meeting the expenses of his daily living and who is paying his share in the rented apartment he is sharing with those Sudanese guys. Finally, those police officers of Toronto have decided to leave him alone. They have never bothered to interrogate him and find out what is he doing and how is he meeting his needs. They thought such a matter is personal, and it is not their duty to interfere in someone's life who has not violated the law or committed any crime. Therefore, Dr. Hassan has been counted one of those peace-loving and law-abiding Muslim immigrants. Chapter 34. On the trial day. The trial of Pastor Wahid and Dr. Natasha took place after 3 months from the day Professor Natasha Shams al-Din had received that anonymous life threat letter in her mail and showed it to the police. By then, she is close to 9 months in her pregnancy. Even though she is in her last few days of her pregnancy, she has been compelled to appear in court. Most of the non-Muslim people who came for the trial became angry when they saw that a high pregnant woman has been dragged in a court for a trial. She might deliver her baby at any moment. Her stomach might burst out at any second and her baby might come out any minute. She is walking with so much difficulty. She has been supported by her brother Wahid and her Ethiopian friend, Almaz. There is rumor spread around the city that Dr. Natasha had received a life threat from Muslim terrorists. Such rumor is based on information leaked out through a noisy police officer who passed it as a gossip to his friends. The righteous wrath of her supporters and sympathizers increased when they understood that if someone shoots her while she is entering the courtroom or while she is returning to her residence, he will kill her along with her unborn baby. Nonetheless, as they say, the law is blind and hence it does not see her pregnancy or perceive the danger involved in her public appearance without any special police protection. She has to face the alleged accusations of her forged false religious identity and fake name. Dr. Natasha and her brother are accused of misguiding the Saudi embassy by falsely claiming to be husband and wife when they are real sister and brother. Professor Natasha is shocked when the court surprised her with the serious charge of lying to the Canadian embassy in Dubai by applying for a spousal visa for her second husband. She is also informed that the police of Toronto acquired information that she faked a sham marriage and provided false evidence for obtaining a spousal visa for Dr. Hassan Yasser, who confessed to the police authority that he did not marry her. It is just a pseudo-marriage contract which she did only on papers and meant to fool the Canadian embassy in Dubai and obtain a spousal visa for him. However, the so-called groom and his bride had not consummated their marriage contract until they arrived in Canada. It is one of those sham marriages which some Indians made with their sisters and mothers and Egyptians with hookers and streets girls. Firstly, the lawyer of Dr. Natasha and Pastor Wahid has been able to clear them from the first accusation of faking false names. By the way, Wahid Muhammad Ahmed has opened a church and began to pastor it. He has 55 members in his new church. Their lawyer supplied tangible proofs that Dr. Natasha and her brother Pastor Wahid had officially changed their names to Dr. Nadia Ahmed and Sami Ahmed. When Dr. Nadia returned to Canada along with her new husband, she changed her name to Dr. Natasha Shams Eldin. Her brother remained until the day of the trial with his new name Sami Ahmed, but in his church is called Pastor Wahid. Those changes had been done in a legal and official way which are allowed in Canada. Secondly, the lawyer said Canada is a free country where the person could change his religion anytime and without giving reason or announcing that in public. For example, the law in Canada allows the person to be today a Muslim, tomorrow a Christian, and day after tomorrow a Hindu. Even if he becomes an atheist or begins to worship the sun and moon, he is free to do so. No one is required to supply official papers to indicate which religion he is following or which deity he is worshipping. He said there are some Canadians who openly are worshipping the devil and have a satanic church which they attend every Sunday. For that reason, Professor Natasha and Pastor Wahid are not supposed to be asked which religion they are following now or which one they used to follow when they applied for their visas to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. No Canadian court would prosecute a citizen for presenting allegedly false religious identity. Thirdly, the lawyer said that his clients should not be prosecuted for visiting the Holy Land of Muslims and attending the annual Hajj rituals even if they admitted that they were not Muslims when they did that. As an example, the lawyer argued that every year thousands of visitors visit the holy places of Christians and Jews in the Vatican in Rome, or the holy city of Jerusalem in Israel, and other holy places of Hindus, Buddhists, and Sikhs without required to reveal the names of their religions and deities. Religious holy places are treated all over the world as historical sites and are open to all worshippers and tourists. Muslims in Canada and the USA are inviting teachers and their students from schools and colleges near them to visit their mosques and learn about their religious practices and witness their daily 5 prayers. There was a case of a teacher in an American school who had among her pupils Jewish and Christian children and took them to an Islamic mosque and asked them to participate in prayer without obtaining the consents of their parents. Despite that, no one had lodged a complaint against the imam of that mosque or demanded the prosecution of that teacher. Fourth, the lawyer contended that although his defendants confessed that while they were filling out their visa's application, they marked the box that it said married couple. The lawyer agreed that his clients misguided the Saudi embassy officials and led them to issue the visas believing that they were married couple. The question to be asked here: why the Saudi officials did not ask for proof of the marital status of his clients. In case that question was raised and his clients provided false documents or even a fake marriage certificate, then they could be condemned by the Canadian law for forgery. His clients could be condemned as morally wrong but not legally liable for prosecution. Then the lawyer argued that his clients or one else filling in that application might have misunderstood the question and for that reason gave the wrong answer. It was the duty of the Saudi officials to make sure the applicant had understood the question and given an accurate answer backed by official document such as a marriage certificate. Fifth, Based on the above-mentioned defense, all the lawsuits of other Middle Eastern embassies, which accused my clients of entering and traveling in their countries with false religious identities and fake names, bear no weight, and their lawsuits should be rejected by the court. Sixth, there is a charge that said my defendant Natasha Shams al-Din lied in her application for a landed immigrant visa for her spouse, Mr. Hassan Yasser Saf al-Dawla. First of all, I do not know how the police obtained information that the husband of my client confessed that her second marriage is fake. Even if the husband of my client made such a confession, the court could not use it against my client because she lived with him as a wife or conjugal partner, and right now, she is carrying his baby in her womb. If the court has doubt about the father of her baby, then in that case, this trial should be postponed until my client delivered her baby and a paternity DNA test be conducted on the baby and Mr. Hassan to find out whether he is the biological father or not. After the lawyer presented his defense, the court passed its judgment. Based on the charges, the words of the legal representatives of the Embassy of Saudi Arabia and other Middle Eastern countries, and the defense of Dr. Natasha and her brother's lawyer, the court could not find the suspects guilty of any of the charges that have been laid on them. Canadian Muslims who crowded the courtroom that day have become extremely outraged and began to shout repeatedly their religious slogan of Allahu Akbar, Allah Akbar, and accused the court of injustice. Some of them, for unknown reasons, condemned Israel and the United States of America and called for the death of the citizens of those countries. Despite that, no arrest of a single protester of that mob of terrorists has been made. While Dr. Natasha is coming out of the courtroom supported by her brother Wahid and friend Almaz and escorted by 2 police officers, someone moved out of the crowd and fired a bullet at her from point-blank range. Her brother has seen the shooter when he ran out of the crowd with a gun in his hand and moved quickly and shielded his sister. The bullet flew directly and entered his heart. He dropped dead at the spot. Before the assassin could fire again, one of the 2 police officers responded in time and shot him in his stomach. Chapter 35. Dr. Natasha on Fox News TV. The sacrificial martyrdom of Pastor Wahid Muhammad Ahmed is considered by the public as a heroic act. He is held as a great hero of our time. Even so, his assassination in front of the Canadian court is considered by Muslims marking the downfall of Western freedom of speech and a triumphal victory of the Islamic religion. The failure of the Toronto police to prevent such cowardly terrorist murder outraged many people. The police of Toronto are blamed because Dr. Natasha had already complained to the police and showed them a life threat letter that she received in her mail at the Toronto University where she is teaching Islam. Firstly, the police were supposed to take her complaint seriously and therefore should have provided her with protection around the clock. Secondly, she should not have been forced to attend the trial when every cop in the city knew that her life was in great danger. Thirdly, the police should have used that life threat letter as a lead to reach those Muslim terrorists who were plotting to assassinate her outside the Toronto Criminal Court. The assassin of her brother survived the bullet that hit his stomach. The police revealed his identity as a Sudanese Muslim student studying at the University of Toronto. He is one of the students of Professor Dr. Natasha. The initial investigations revealed that he is sharing the same apartment with Dr. Natasha's husband and other 3 Sudanese young men. All the tenants are students and all of them are unmarried except Dr. Hassan. Her husband is the only one who is without work and depends entirely on his roommates. The other 4 Sudanese have been interrogated, but none of them admitted that he had any knowledge of the assassination plot. After detaining them for 3 days and interrogating them, the police let them go and kept a watch on them. The police could not be able to make any more arrests. The assassin is a pig-headed terrorist, therefore the police could not be able to get any information out of him which might lead to other hands involved in his murder plot. In the meantime, the shock of seeing her brother being shot and killed in front of her eyes caused Dr. Natasha to collapse and fall into a long coma. When she was rushed to the nearest medical facility, the hospital authority immediately conducted a cesarean operation on her unconscious body and removed the baby. The baby was born alive and kept in the intensive care unit because he was born a few days before his mother's due date. The assassination of Wahid is a great tragedy for his wife and children. Alma's Abraha happened to be there outside the courtroom when her husband was assassinated in front of her eyes. Thousands of people sent their condolences to her through the mail. Many of them called her on the phone and condoled her. Meanwhile, her house has been guarded by the police around the clock. The children of Dr. Natasha have been stopped from going to school for the fear of being kidnapped or assassinated by other outraged Muslim terrorists. It took Dr. Natasha 5 days to come out of her long comatose state. When she regained consciousness, the memory of the horrifying murder of her brother, who was shielded from the bullet, attacked her as a major heart attack. She remembered that her brother gave his life to protect her and her yet-to-be-born baby. Dr. Natasha wept bitterly when she knew that she had lost her loving brother forever. She held herself responsible for his untimely death. She remembered that her loving grandfather also sacrificed his life to protect her. She also remembered those innocent 350 wedding guests who were killed on her wedding day. She asked herself while crying bitterly, how many more innocent people are going to be killed because of me before the Muslim terrorists will finally take off my life? Dr. Natasha determined that the blood of her grandfather, brother, and those innocent people who were killed in her place would not go wasted. While she is still in her hospital bed, she made a solemn oath to her lost dear ones and those innocent martyrs that she would never keep quiet or be intimidated by the Islamic terror. She determined to expose the evils of Islam until she would be killed by Muslims and go down in her grave as a martyr of freedom of speech. She knew and understood how to expose and destroy the causes of Islamic terrorism. Muslim terrorists want to silence anyone who discovered the evils of Islam and publicly tried to expose them. Islam is the only religion that kills those who expose its evils. After making that serious decision, Dr. Natasha picked up her cell phone and dialed from her hospital's bed the American Fox News TV and invited them to come and get the video of the brutally stoned Siham. She informed the channel that the cruelly executed woman in the video is none other than the former wife of her husband, Dr. Hassan Yasser Saif al-Dawla. Moreover, she told them that she is the one who witnessed the cruel stoning of the innocent Sudanese woman from the balcony of her apartment in Riyadh City, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and shot the videotaping. The Fox News staff members are eagerly waiting for the video and tried several times to get it from Dr. Natasha. However, Professor Natasha kept postponing the delivery until the coward terrorists of Islam once again hit her family. Before the video reached Fox News, Dr. Natasha had been discharged from the hospital and returned to her late brother's house to live with his widowed wife, her best friend, the widow Mrs. Wahid Abraha, and her 2 children Nadia and Sammy. Dr. Natasha named her newborn son, Wahid, in memory of her martyred brother, who offered his life in her place. It is a good custom in her family to name the newborn baby after a great relative who died a heroic death. Her late grandfather named her Natasha after his beloved daughter, who was whipped to death by the Sharia court in Sudan. She named her firstborn daughter Nadia after her grandmother, who was stabbed to death when she shielded her daughter Natasha and saved her from being slain in honor killing. She also named her firstborn son Sammy after her loving grandfather Dr. Sammy Shams al-Din, who raised her up and sacrificed his life for her protection. Meanwhile, the house where she has come to live with her children and the widow of her brother has been guarded 24 hours by fully armed police officers. Shortly after her discharge from the hospital, Fox News received the stoning video and aired it. Dr. Natasha has been interviewed live after the video has been shown to the world. The Fox News invited at the same time a well-known Muslim imam by the name of Mohsen Abdul Rauf. When Imam Abdul Rauf saw the video, the first words came out of his mouth, "It was not genuine." He doubted the genuineness of the video because he claimed he has never heard of a Sudanese woman by the name of Siham Nasir Saif al-Dawla being stoned to death in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He further claimed that he has a list of all people who had been publicly stoned in the Holy Land of Muslims. The Fox News interviewer said to him that, the question before the audience and to him, "Does Islam command the adulterous person to be stoned to death or not?" He avoided the direct question and insisted that the video is another new Western propaganda against Islam. When Dr. Natasha is asked to respond to the doubts of the Imam Mohsen Abdul Rauf, she said, The so-called adulterous woman who is stoned to death is the Muslim wife of her husband who at present is living in Toronto. She then admitted that she married the husband of the stoned woman because she wanted to stop him from committing suicide due to the scandal of his condemned wife. When his wife was caught in the very act of committing adultery with her boyfriend and sentenced to be stoned to death according to the Sharia, her husband, Mr. Hassan Yasser Saif al-Dawla, who is her cousin brother, decided to kill himself due to the scandal. To stop him from killing himself due to the so-called nasty scandal of his late wife, Dr. Natasha said, on compassionate ground, she betrothed herself to him, lawfully married him, and legally brought him to Canada. If she did not bring him to the West, Dr. Hassan would have burned himself alive due to the nasty scandal of his wife's adultery and her stoning to death. Because of that, he could neither return to the King Fahd Royal Hospital as a doctor nor go out of his hiding place. Imam Abdul Rauf found himself speechless when Professor Natasha confronted him with such an undeniable fact. Instead, he changed the topic of the program and began to talk about the good things the Islamic Sharia could bring to the country if it has been implemented in the right way. Nonetheless, the interviewer interrupted him and brought him back to the cruel stoning of the so-called adulterous woman Siham. According to the Imam, in Islam, the sin of adultery can be proved only through confession, pregnancy, or 4 male witnesses. Then he asked how the Sharia court in Riyadh City had proved that Muslim wife had committed adultery with another man. When Dr. Natasha told him that the late Muslim wife Siham was caught by the Riyadh police red-handed with her lover in the very act of committing adultery on the bed of her husband, Imam Mohsen Abdul Rauf began to argue against the possibility of catching the adulterer and adulteress in the very act of committing adultery. Dr. Natasha said, the wife was bare naked when she and her boyfriend were caught by the police while they were committing adultery inside the apartment, in the bedroom, and in the bed of her husband. Imam Abdul Rauf said, the Sharia requires that the 4 adult witnesses should have brought a thread and passed it between the bare-naked bodies of the adulterer and adulteress, and if the thread did not pass between their bodies, then and only then, their testimony could be legally accepted in the Islamic court. In other words, the thread would prove the adulterer's penis is fully and completely inserted inside the vagina of the adulteress. Since no adulterous man and adulterous woman would continue in their shameful act after people caught them in the very act of committing adultery, then the possibility of proving their sinful act is out of the question. Then the Imam sarcastically said, only a dog and its bitch could remain stuck to each other after sex. The prominent Imam Mohsen Abdul Rauf said, it has never happened in the history of Islam that adultery had been proven in that impossible to prove method of 4 witnesses and the thread. For that reason, the Imam cast serious doubts on the genuineness of the video. Professor Natasha told him that the late wife Siham and her boyfriend had confessed their adultery. Still, the Imam said such confession most probably had been taken out of their bleeding mouths through the Riyadh police torture. Dr. Natasha said, stoning is a method of punishing an adulterer in Islam, and the video is one of the thousands of cases of women and men stoned to death in Saudi Arabia, and if America will allow the implementation of Sharia, then there will be the cruel stoning of adulterers, flogging the drunkards, cutting the hands and legs of thieves, and beheading murderers and apostates would come along with it. Dr. Natasha astonished the interviewer when she told him that in Sharia there are no punishments such as imprisonment or paying off the financial fine. If a person stole $10 and another person stole $1 million, the punishment is the same, cutting off their hands, and that can prove there is no justice in Islam. Imam Abdul Rauf cut Dr. Natasha and shouted, Islam means peace, and therefore the implementation of the Sharia in the United States of America will bring peace with it. Professor Natasha has replied quickly and corrected his definition of Islam, which means submission or surrender to the will of Allah. Then the interviewer asked Dr. Natasha to say her last words in the program about her findings during her 2 undercover visits to the Muslim world. Dr. Natasha summarized her findings in the Muslim countries she visited by saying, Islam allows the man to marry 4 women at the same time, Surah Al-Nisa 4, verse 3. The same verse permits the Muslim man to rape his slaves and captives of war without marrying them. Based on this evil verse, the ISIS jihadi fighters raped the Iraqi Yazid women and sold them in the Mosul slaves markets. Man is allowed by the Quran to beat his rebellious wife and disobedient daughters, Surah Al-Nisa 4, verse 34. Many evil practices against women are allowed and encouraged by Islam, such as female genital mutilation and child marriage. She cited Surah Al-Talaq 65, verse 4. The Prophet Muhammad married his child bride Aisha when she was 6 years old and raped her when she was an underage girl of 9. She cited Sahih al-Bukhari, book number 62, hadith number 89. The Muslim man can divorce his Muslim wife, but she cannot divorce her husband. When the wife is divorced, the custody of the children automatically goes to their father. In Islam, the woman is half-brain. Her testimony is not accepted in court because the Quran considered it a half-testimony, Surah Al-Baqarah 2, verse 282. The woman gets half inheritance of her deceased father while her brother gets double her share, Surah Al-Nisa 4, verse 11. Women must wear hijabs, abayas, niqabs, or burqas, see Surah Al-Ahzab 33, verse 59. The woman is neither to go out of her house, nor to be educated, nor she is allowed to go to work, and that is why the Taliban government in Afghanistan shut down all girls' schools and colleges, see Surah Al-Ahzab 33, verse 33. Moreover, the woman is not permitted to go out of her house without her husband or a male mahram, such as her father or brother. Honor killing is quite common practice in Muslim societies, and the law doesn't punish for it. Suddenly, the Imam Mohsen Abdul Rauf has interrupted the words of Dr. Natasha and shouted while his mouth is foaming in rage, "You are a liar, despicable, infidel, and apostate woman. May the curses of Allah, His Prophet, His angels, and all people be upon you and on your parents. Because you have become an apostate and infidel Christian woman and left the blessed community of Abraham, therefore the shedding of your blood is permissible to any Muslim man or Muslima woman." The producers of the program of Fox News have responded quickly and blocked him before he could spew more of his venom and threats on the professor Dr. Natasha, and the program ended there. Nonetheless, on the same day, the FBI police have arrested the evil terrorist Imam Mohsen Abdul Rauf for issuing a fatwa in live American TV instigating other Muslims to shed the blood of Professor Dr. Natasha Shams al-Din for her so-called apostasy from Islam. Chapter 36. Forgiveness and Reconciliation. The video of the stoned Sudanese woman who was caught in the very act of committing adultery with her boyfriend while she was having a Muslim husband has created an uproar among the Muslims in Canada and the USA. Most of the Muslims believe the words of the Imam Mohsen Abdul Rauf that it is a fake video. Sudanese Muslims in Toronto have become extremely outraged by the video and protested by marching in the streets and condemning the Professor Dr. Natasha and the Fox News TV. They called for the prosecution of Dr. Natasha for providing an anti-Islamic material to a popular American TV channel for the sake of defaming Islam and Muslims. They shouted many religious slogans and accused her of spreading hate propaganda against Islam. They asked the government of Ontario to stop Dr. Natasha from creating hatred in the hearts of non-Muslims towards Muslims. Many Muslims believed that if Dr. Natasha is not banned from writing and silenced from speaking, she would create enough hatred in the hearts of the enemies of Islam, and that would lead them to reproach and confront Muslims. Some far-right extremists might hunt down and shoot Muslim women and men in the streets, malls, stores, and public parks and transportation. Notwithstanding, no one has been exceedingly affected, and his reputation has been so much damaged by the stoning video more than the husband Dr. Hassan. As soon as the video had been aired in Fox News and Dr. Natasha mentioned that she married the husband of the stoned woman, Sudanese Muslims in Toronto connected the dots and concluded the person in question is Dr. Hassan. Many of them came to him and demanded from him the denial or admission of the serious accusation. As he did before, Dr. Hassan tried to deny his involvement in the case of the stoned woman. However, some Sudanese contacted their relatives and friends in Riyadh City and Khartoum City and confirmed the words of Dr. Natasha. When he has been confronted with the undeniable evidence, Dr. Hassan admitted that the stoned woman was his ex-wife and at the same time, she was his cousin. He further confessed that he hid the relationship between him and his adulterous wife because she cheated on him and dishonored the reputation of his family and her family. Therefore, once again Dr. Hassan has been made by the Sudanese community in Canada to bear the consequences of that abominable scandal as his Sudanese people in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia had done to him before. In a short time, he lost all his friends, and no Sudanese is ready to associate with him after the cat is out of the bag. He has been treated like a filthy subhuman or an outcast. Wherever he went, he met some Sudanese people who reproached him and blamed him for marrying an accursed infidel woman like the apostate professor Dr. Natasha, who is enemy number one of Islam, to hide from the scandal of his adulterous wife. Dr. Hassan tried to convince his accusers that Dr. Natasha fooled him and made him think that she is a Muslim woman, and when he discovered she is not, she already became pregnant with his baby. None of his blamers is prepared to believe him. Accordingly, Dr. Hassan found himself hated and blamed in Toronto more than when he was in Riyadh. Once again, those ugly suicidal moods began to fill his troubled mind. However, this time, his love for his newly born son has stopped him from killing himself. Being rejected and despised by his own Sudanese people, Dr. Hassan decided to go to Dr. Natasha and apologize to her and request her to accept him again as her husband. If she refused him, he decided to beg her to take him back for the sake of their newborn son. He knows that she was the one who stood with him during his difficult time when he was in Saudi Arabia. She was the one who stopped him from killing himself. The short time he spent with her proved to him that she had an exceptionally large and loving heart. Accordingly, after his Muslim friends abandoned him and his Sudanese people detested him, Dr. Hassan went with his tail between his legs and knocked on the door of Professor Dr. Natasha's heart and asked her to forgive him. He sent his apology and request through a long letter he mailed to her through her university's address. In his letter, he explained to her how the stoning video of his late wife has exposed his hidden secret and led his Sudanese friends to blame him and reject him. Moreover, they began to hate him with bitterness when they discovered his Christian wife was the one who spoke against Islam on Fox News. He also told her that due to the social scandal he is facing now, he began to have those ugly suicidal thoughts, and the only person who can save his life again is the same kind woman who rescued him in Saudi Arabia and brought him to Canada as her husband. For that reason, he requested her to forgive him and save his life again and take him back as her husband. When Dr. Natasha has received and read his letter, she is not willing to forgive him and accept him back, but her Ethiopian friend Almaz Abraha asked her to give him another chance. Dr. Natasha listened to her friend and agreed to forgive her husband, but before she could take him back, she wanted to talk to him. She wanted to make sure that he is returning to her not because his Muslim friends have persecuted and rejected him, but because he still loves her and wants from his heart to return to her. Dr. Natasha knows deep down in her heart she still loves her husband and loves his baby. She does not want her newborn son Wahid to be brought up by his mother alone. She knows the importance of the two parents in the life of the child. She remembered how much she longed for her mother to be alive and bring her up. The loving mother Natasha wishes her husband will come back and shower his son with his love. She understood that her husband stole her laptop and hid it because he did not want his hidden secret to be revealed. She also knew that her husband's mind is still controlled by the importance of the family's honor that he learned from childhood. For him to be freed from his Islamic upbringing, he needs some time. For that reason, she decided to forgive him and take him back. She hopes that in the long run, her husband might change and discard that evil Islamic culture from his mind and heart. As a matter of fact, the kind Professor Natasha knew if she refused to forgive her husband and take him back, he might kill himself. She does not want to be responsible for the suicidal death of the person who she rescued when he was rejected and despised in the Middle East. Accordingly, she decided once again to stretch out her arms and pull him out of the bottomless pit where his Muslim people in Canada threw him. Therefore, she wrote back to him and asked him to come and meet her in a certain place in the city. In her reply, she mentioned that she would not take him back until she would talk to him first and become sure he is returning to her from his heart. Dr. Hassan became extremely glad when he came to know that his wife was prepared to give him another chance. He went to the place where she asked him to meet her. Dr. Natasha knows very well that she is putting her life in danger by stepping out of her house all alone without any police protection. To hide her identity, she put on an Islamic abaya and niqab that concealed her face and entire body before she went to meet her husband. She decided to meet her husband in an Ethiopian restaurant in downtown Toronto. She reached the restaurant an hour before the time of their meeting. She decided to make sure that there is not another terrorist plot made against her. She still does not fully trust her husband with her life. She thought he might be conspiring with some Muslim terrorists in the city and plotting with them her assassination. The Ethiopian restaurant that Dr. Natasha went to meet her husband is empty most of the time during the day. Most of the customers love to visit it during the night. She went many times with her late brother Pastor Wahid and her Abyssinian friend Almaz Abraha to that Ethiopia restaurant. From her table in a far corner, Dr. Natasha saw her husband come inside the empty restaurant and sat at another table. He has changed so much in this short time. He looks miserable and starving, as if he has not eaten food or slept for many days. His pitiful appearance reminded his wife of those homeless guys who spend most of their time roaming aimlessly on the streets of downtown Toronto. He looks 100 times sadder and more miserable than when he got persecuted by his Sudanese people in Saudi Arabia. Dr. Natasha wept when she saw the sad condition of her lover and husband. She continued to sit in her place and look at him with eyes flooded with hot tears. When she became sure he was alone and there was no evil intention to surface on his face, she decided to go and meet him. Although Dr. Hassan saw the Muslim woman who is sitting all alone and looking at him, still, he could not recognize Dr. Natasha. He would never expect that his wife would put on the Islamic niqab again. However, when he saw the Muslim woman got up from her table, approached his table, and greeted him, he recognized Dr. Natasha's voice. After greeting him, Dr. Natasha explained to her husband why she has put on the Islamic burqa. That day, Dr. Natasha spent a long time talking to her husband. His words somehow has convinced her that he is genuine in his apology and truly from his heart. He has decided to return to her. He apologized to her in tears and asked her to forgive him and accept him as her husband again. The loving Dr. Natasha has forgiven her husband and invited him to come and live with her as his wife. Shortly after their meeting, Dr. Hassan vacated his apartment and left his mean and evil Muslim roommates and moved in with his wife and their baby boy. It was a wonderful reconciliation, and both lovers found themselves once again living in bliss, and their baby boy, Wahid, added more joy to their happy reunion. Moreover, Dr. Natasha became exceedingly happy, and she has tremendous peace of mind when her husband accepted her daughter Nadia and son Sammy as his own children. She needed not to hide her relationship with them any longer because Dr. Hassan had officially become their stepfather. After the forgiveness and reconciliation, Dr. Natasha spent 1 year on maternity leave before she returned to her teaching job at the Department of Religious Studies at the University of Toronto. Meanwhile, Dr. Hassan continued his medical study. During her maternity leave, Dr. Natasha wrote one more book about the lives of women in Muslim societies. It is another masterpiece and became an eye-opener to many people, especially women. After returning to her teaching position, Professor Natasha continued to speak and write about women in Islam. She wrote and published 15 books on women in Muslim societies. Her writings and speeches made her loved by millions of people and hated by over 2 billion Muslims. Dr. Natasha traveled all over the world and spoke in many major cities in Canada, the USA, the UK, France, Germany, Spain, the Netherlands, and other European countries. She also traveled and conducted speeches and debates on Australia, Africa, South America, South Korea, China, and India. Her powerful testimony and speeches resonated all over the world. Through her resilience and courage, she created paradigm shift among Muslim women as well as their male counterparts. She became one of the most powerful speakers on the issues of women in Muslim societies. She spoke and wrote out of knowledge as well as experience. No one could defeat her in a debate or refute her writings. She is well versed in the main two sacred texts of Islam, the Quran and the Hadiths. Therefore, no one could challenge her speeches and writings because she witnessed the dire realities of those issues with her own eyes and lived them through the tragedies of her own family life. Everywhere, Professor Dr. Natasha Shams al-Din went, Muslim terrorists attempted to assassinate her, but their plots were always foiled by the Western police authorities.